Devil, a devil, subordinate evil spirit afflicting humans. Powerful spirit of evil, otherwise known as Satan. Hebrew Satan, see Satan. All right, okay. Don't tell me twice. Satan, proper name of their supreme evil spirit, great adversary of humanity and Christianity. Satan, right? Adversary. So a devil, they say see Satan, and Satan, they say see adversary. Because, I'm just thinking about this devil's comet. And who's this comet an adversary to? Them or you? One who opposes. Who is this devil opposing? And why do they keep calling us the adversary? Because, doomed diverses, right? We've been invaded. And why do they call big Leviathan, who is a dragon, sometimes regarded as, Satan? Then, of course, they've been talking Christianity the whole time, and they put it in Revelations, and he's a bad dragon, and he's Satan, the red dragon, right? So they know that this dragon connects to what they call adversary or Satan. And we know that this devil connects to a dragon. Like Leviathan. Okay. I'm just saying. This is what I'm saying. All right. Are you telling us that Tecumseh, who is a Hebrew, Birdman Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, right? Tecumseh, who is an ancient Israelite, because they are identical when you talk Aborigines and when you talk ancient Israel. It is identical when you talk Central South America, man. And this Hebrew extraction. Okay. So this author is saying, hey, man, no one is going to tell me that this is coming from fiction, because it's not written from fiction when you talk to Tecumseh. Tecumseh gives us a hard hit when you connect it with the Hebrew. Now we know who we're talking about in North America, right? We're talking Israelites. We're talking the Hebrew extraction. Because suspicion has asserted that all the natives of the continent of Columbus might probably have been originally Hebrews. Keep this in play, right? We're just talking to Tecumseh. And if Tecumseh has everything to do with the Hebrews, right, then Tecumseh's comet, or, the Great Comet of 1811, right? Tecumseh sees this comet, and this comet, a lot to do with the Napoleon and all this stuff, man. Great comet, right? Contemporary discovered bottle of wine from the year the Great Comet, bottled by Napoleon. But Napoleon was being chased out of Russia, man. We're talking Napoleon's invasion of Russia. We know the Rus is a bunch of niggas, right? We're talking Andrew. The same comet that I'm not calling it, they're calling it Devil's Comet, because like we just dropped before, they're saying this thing is coming back now in 2024. And I said, that's a whole lot to be happening in 2024, boss. You're telling me this dragon is returning, right? I mean, the Shawnee military leader Tecumseh, the Hebrew, right? The Hebrew Khan, the Hebrew. There's strong sentiments with this chief of the force and those ancient Hebrews. Strong analogy between Tecumseh and the Hebrews. So when you talk Tecumseh and you know we're talking Hebrews, then we're talking signs for the Hebrew. And this Shawnee leader Tecumseh, who was trying to drive all the pan or the alliance of Native Americans, natural by law. We're talking North America. And we're really talking the Americas, period. But we're zooming in on North America because we're talking the Hebrew extraction. The natives, right? Columbus, We're going to get on them dog heads. Are you ready to talk dog heads? Hey, welcome to the 132nd installment of the Prester John Investigation. God, we're talking dragons. Let's go. So the Tecumseh's tribing up these tribes in America. That's a big coincidence because these Hebrews need to be tribed up. Now, some of these Hebrews are, signing deals, right? So we got treaties on treaties, more and more brother on brother, sister on sister, happening right here in America. Now, his name also means shooting star, or, we know meteors are dragons, right? So, claim the appearance of the comet as a favorable omen during his mostly unsuccessful efforts because he couldn't tribe up these Nagas. It's almost like a sign like, man, if y'all could tribe up, this dragon's here, I could rock with you, we could rock. But if we ain't going to tribe up, then these efforts are going to be unsuccessful. And it doesn't matter how favorable this dragon is. If the cons aren't in code, the dragons can't do nothing with us. HaWah can't even, take us out of punishment if we are not listening, right? If we're not in code. So because we couldn't code up these unsuccessful efforts that year, 1811, 1812, we couldn't get a pan-Naga alliance to fight the hijack. Here we are, right? This isn't that long ago. So I love connecting right back with the Tecumseh because it ain't that long ago. Like I said, Napoleon saw this coming. Napoleon's invasion. They referred to it as Napoleon's comet. The meteor. At the midpoint of War and Peace, Tolstoy describes the character of Pierre observing this enormous and brilliant comet, which was said to portend all kinds of woes and the end of the world. So while Tecumseh is looking at this comet as a favorable omen, Napoleon and him is like, dude, this is doomsday, right? It just reminds me of today since we're talking the same comet, Managi. I didn't say we was talking the same comet. They're calling it the devil's comet and saying it's the same comet. But who's the adversary, right? Who's the Satan? Who's your adversary? They're calling HaWah's dragon, Leviathan, their adversary. Well, he did sink Atlantis. Did Leviathan sink Atlantis, man? Okay. Who's their adversary? I mean, who's the one who's opposing you, right? Who they calling devil, boss? Well, it would be the one that they feel is bringing the end of the world and all kinds of woes. The comet was popularly thought to have portended Napoleon's invasion of Russia, even being referred to as Napoleon's Comet in the War of 1812, among other events. So back to 1812, right? And this is where you bring in Tecumseh. Because America's been at war at least, 100% of the time, man, right? God, I mean, we've been digging on it. So if we're just looking at this particular time period, right, the pieces of friendship, right around this 1786, 1787 flow. But we know that was a continuation of their ancient treaties, right? They always been tribed up. Psalms 83, we get it. Dragging canoes fighting in this war. Tecumseh's fighting in the Chickamauga War. The Chickamauga are the cons that didn't make no treaties, right? We got that. Because everybody else wanted to make a deal. I'm trying to see what happened, right? We trying to see what happened. Wow. So what happened, man? We on a we're on a war path, man, because it's been war on our head bone, war on the cons right here, constant attacks on a daily. Do you remember a day when you didn't feel like you're being attacked in some type of way? We're talking about Native American, right? Hebrews, right? Hebrew extraction, con. So these particular cons that they're calling Chickamauga were a group that separated from the other Cherokee, the greater body. During this time of this war, Tecumseh War, right? And a little before that, right? This is the first group of cons that they went head up with, man. And the mission never changed for the cons. Get the hijack off the land. Get the hijack off the land. Because I'm going to ask you a couple questions in Prester John 132. One of them have to do with your house. And if a hijack takes your house over, I don't care how long the hijack, wants to live in your house, 100 years, 200 years, it's still your house, is it not? All these castles all over the place, hijack just moves into. Are those not still your castles? Is this not still your land? Am I bringing you history or reality, Khan? Is Drop bringing you history or reality, man, when I say this is still your house? And here's the pivot point of the Israelite war, more and more against the Confederacy, Psalms 83, hijack field, everybody making treaties, and this group that went head up the first 20 years and then continued after the Tecumseh War with the Seminole, with the Creek, everybody tribing up, doing their best, all throughout the 1800s, early 1900s, fighting the same war that popped off right here. They've been invaded, but this was the tribal Hebrew Confederacy, Nagas, not the hijack Confederacy, but the Confederacy of cons that was fighting against the hijack Confederacy, man. Because they wanted to separate. Because everybody else wanted to do what? The greater body wanted to make deals. The majority wanted to make peace with the hijack Americans. This ties in directly with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Go look it up. which says pretty much you got to fight alongside Hijack City. You can't fight against Hijack City. If these hijacks coming to here to hijack us, if they got a problem with somebody, we got a problem with them. Just like if you join the army or military today. Same thing. Now you got to fight for your country, but is it your country anymore? Or did they just take over your castles, move into your crib, and now you're defending them staying in your house? Now somebody else comes and is like, hey, can you fight for this house? It's my house. But if I fight, you still gonna be here. You still gonna be running my house. Cherokee wasn't playing it. The Chickamauga wasn't playing that. Dragon Canoe was not playing that. Dragon Canoe wasn't playing that, man. There was a division among the Cherokee and can be demonstrated by a letter sent from Thomas Jefferson, May 4th, 1808, 4 years before the Tecumseh. Tecumseh died in, say, 1813. So what they called Tecumseh's War 1812 was again a continuation of the Chickamauga War. May 4th, 1808, and a letter addressed to the chiefs of the Upper Cherokee. In this letter, which is found in the National Archives, Jefferson said, "You propose, my children, that your nation shall be divided into two, and that your part, the Upper Cherokee, shall be separated from the Lower by a fixed boundary, shall be placed under the government of the United States, become citizens or slaves," because citizens just mean slave, "thereof, and be ruled by our laws," right? Not the Most High, not Most High over everything. Hijack city law, and find to be our brothers instead of our children. Wow. Right now, you just are sons. But maybe if you do these treaties, you'll be our brothers. Wow. So this was the fight. It was quite clear to Tecumseh, we got to ride or die with this, man, because we ain't going to be under their laws. They're not taking our wives and children. They're not taking our lands. Hell no. And the other one said, well, maybe we'll get some lands. Maybe, they'll be good to us. For how long? For how long, man? Is it still your house? Or is it the hijack house now? Is it still your land? Or is it hijack city, man? Is drop breaking you history or reality? Treaty of peace of friendship that made peace, right? All this continued, the Barbar again, Swan Night, same thing, up into, we're talking the comet, right? Signified the war. Tecumseh stepped back up, popped it off on a whole new level, right? And this pop-off continued. All this Seminole stuff, man, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole Creek, all this is the continuation of the pop-offness of the Tecumseh flow and the Dragon Canoe flow, Chickamauga flow. And you see it just continue. And I said, when did you have time to be a slave? If you were fighting all this time, you think you were a slave from Africa and fought in these wars? You think they had time to do all this slave from Africa situation when they had a copper-colored indigenous population to fight for hundreds of years, man? Or did they just keep bringing over reinforcements to fight against us? Then they go to the Philippines and all that. Still more Nagas. Still more Nagas, right? Now we got Cold War. Now we got World War II. But World War One, we still got Nagas. You just invading Mexico and the Philippines. All the same pop offness, man. Chickamauga, Cherokee, Cherokee, Cherokee. So we're talking War of 1812. We're talking Comet of 1811. And when Tecumseh saw this comet, he claimed the appearance of the comet was a favorable sign, man. Oh, they fought, and yeah, it was unsuccessful. That was our last stand, man. But all we had to do was tribe up, man. It's really all we had to do was be in code and stop killing each other over these treaties with the devil, the real devil, right? The real adversary, one who opposes, obstructs, or acts as an adversary. I would think that's the one that's invading you, boss. I would think your devil, your adversary, is the one you've been fighting all this time, boss. For how many years? The corporation, because no land has a president or vice president unless it's a corporation, unless it's a business. They didn't call themselves Cherokee. They wanted to separate. They did separate from anybody that's choosing to make peace with the hijack. Now we got our war chiefs popping off. So you telling us, right? That at the same time we got Tecumseh, the Hebrew, rocking with the Aborigines or ancient Israelites or Hebrew extraction. Tecumseh has this, connection with this common at the same time, right? And this comet is popping off right at the pop-off point, 1811, 1812 of Tecumseh's war. And he saw it as a favorable sign, but he couldn't tribe up the tribes, man, to fight against the real adversary. So now, guess what, y'all? Guess what? Now, we got this eclipse coming right up. And all cultures kind of see this as some type of pop-offness. And it has to just do with this North America situation, right? I'm putting this together with y'all, just popping off. It all has to still do with this North America situation, right? This North America situation. When we're dealing with the Tecumseh, the Chickamauga, Cherokee, the Tecumseh War, and this dragon, comet, meteor, shooting star, whatever you want to call it. Napoleon sees it. He's running he's running out of Russia. He's afraid of this thing. Tecumseh says it's a good thing. They say it has something to do with the end of the world. And now it's back. And they're calling it Devil's Comet. And it's popping off at the same time. Same damn time as this solar eclipse. Crisscross applesauce hitting the towel. This stands for the completion, the mark, the sign, the covenant of the Creator and the Creator's children. A marker of an ending of captivity, man. Because don't know total solar eclipses crisscross 7 years apart, my naga, in America, man. Where else is happening, right? And it's popping right through Illinois, like Cairo or close to that. We got it last time. This whole situation. So I'm just saying it's a lot of coincidences, right? We got Great American Eclipse, April 8th. You got this comet that they say come around every 71 years, but there hasn't been no fuss about it until now. So you got this so-called Devil's Comet coming back at the same time. And you got a Year of the Dragon popping off, right? Because it is the Year of the Dragon, right? And it's the Year of the Wood Dragon. What's it got to do with forests, trees? 2024. Ain't that a lot of signs? if you're into that type of thing, man. And if you're not, it's right in your Facebook. So you got a Year of the Dragon happening. That's separate. It's the Wood Dragon, right? A knocker popping off in Inglewood, but I'm just gonna put that to the side. I'll put that to the side. It's the Wood Dragon, all right? At the same time as you got a total solar eclipse called the Great American Eclipse, talking about the Great American Hebrew, right? So whatever is happening in America, since it is identical with the ancient Israelites, must be a Hebrew sign to the Hebrews that were just found in America, been fighting all this time. And all these wars, and they said you was just a slave from Africa. Then who was fighting in all these wars? Was you a slave on a plantation during these wars? Is this another group of melanated people that's not you, my bad? Let me talk to him then. If you just got off a boat from Africa, let me talk to the niggas that was already here. When did you have time to be a slave? You don't make no homeborn slave. You've been fighting back the whole time. Tecumseh told you to fight back. Tecumseh is making a pan-Native American alliance. He didn't say be no homeborn slave and give up your land. He is the dragon, right? Just like Dragon Canoe. And this comet has something to do with the Hebrew. Because Tecumseh has something to do with the Hebrew. And it's happening at the same time, 1811. Right? Comet 1811. They put it in their novels, has to do with revival of a dying hero. But they said it had to do with all kinds of woes, the hijacks of Frey, all kinds of woes, end of the world type stuff. What's it got to do with the Rus? The Russians, huh? That's not a separate event, is what I'm saying. The Hebrews in America and the Hebrews, when you talk the Rus, are all Hebrews. It's all happening. It's all the same flow. It's all the same flow when you're talking the Rus. So Napoleon is invading Lady Andrews, and then we have to understand that when we talk Clancy, all Andreas, like we said before, you are still talking the nobilities that are Israel, fighting against those that are covetous of our birthright. When you talk the Rus or Clancy, all Andreas, you're talking the kindred of the kings of Jerusalem. So this was an invasion of Israel coast to coast, in that Asia there, this Asia here, in Russia over here, 1200s, right? Genghis Khan invading Prester John, TANGUT over here. Look at all the invasions happening. And then this is a continuation that leads into the Tecumseh War, my nigga. You don't think Tecumseh has no connection with this 500 years later? We've been fighting biblical wars. But I'm just saying, it's the year of the dragon. Has to do with renewal, revival. This dragon seems to be real specific. This North America situation, ancient Israelite situation, real specific to the time period where Tecumseh made his last stand, tribing up the tribes. Real specific. It's coming right back now in the year of the dragon, 2024, right? The Chickamauga still exists. We still here, right? Okay. Then there's a great solar eclipse that's happening 7 years apart from the previous one, crisscrossing in North America, where the Tau is the last letter of the Hebrew. And when you talk North America, again, you're just talking Hebrews, Israelites. It's a lot of coincidences, I'm saying. Year of the Dragon, total solar eclipse. It's happening in a Baruch Basag New Year. And this comet just happens to be returning at the same damn time. I mean, to me, Manage, all this just feels like maximum pop-offness, man. Maximum pop-offness, man. What do you feel? What do y'all think? Hold up, man.
The future of your business?
Yeah, the future of our business is getting our land back, man. What do y'all think, man?
8th, 2024, during the total solar eclipse, a unique celestial spectacle will be visible. This isn't just any celestial event, but the rare appearance of the Devil's Comet. This intriguing comet, discovered way back in 1812, will emerge from the shadows, gracing our skies during this total solar eclipse. Its path will take it near the Sun, traversing the constellations Andromeda and Pisces, making this a truly celestial ballet. With an orbital period of approximately 71 years, these visits are few and far between. Around mid-March, it will be closest to the Sun in the constellation Aries, and will then head into Taurus, passing near Jupiter mid-April. This comet will be approximately 27 degrees from the Sun and close to bright Jupiter during the eclipse. So, what exactly is this Devil's Comet, and why is it making such a grand appearance? Discovered in 1812, the Devil's Comet, also known as Comet...
Discovered in 1812. Ooh, well, 1812, you know. Again, it has a lot to do with these Hebrews. A lot to do with the Tecumseh. A lot to do with these Hebrews. The present writer will not yield to any man in the firm belief that the Aborigines of North America and the ancient Israelites are identical. Just saying. I'm not trying to, be too horoscopy or astrological, astronomical, you know what I'm saying? But I don't pay attention to a whole lot of signs per se. But if there's a comet that happens to be returning and was just first seen, they said first seen at the exact same time where Tecumseh's making his last stand, Israelite war happening right here at home, biblical war happening right here, our last opportunity to tribe up. Native comes from nature, man. The natural ones had an opportunity to tribe up. And these natural ones are the ancient Israelites. And that's the first time they saw this dragon. And what of it, man?
Close to bright Jupiter during the eclipse. So, what exactly is this Devil's Comet, and why is it making such a brilliant appearance? Discovered in 1812, the Devil's Comet, also known as Comet Pons-Brooks, is a Halley-type short-period comet. With an orbital period of approximately 71 years, this comet has been a celestial wanderer, making its round trip from the outermost regions of our solar system to the inner sanctum near our Sun. Come mid-March 2024, the comet will be spotted near the constellations Andromeda and Pisces. But it's during its closest approach to the Sun in April when the comet truly becomes a spectacle. It will traverse
April. That's the same time. April 2024. How perfectly timed this total great American solar eclipse crisscrossing in North America in April in the brand new biblical new year, Baruch Basad, during the year of the dragon. And here comes Mr. Tecumseh the Comet, popping off at his greatest point in April. Tecumseh Comet coming in April. Great American Eclipse April. Year of the Dragon April. Come on, man. Can't make this stuff up. That's ping pow.
the constellation Aries and head into Taurus, passing near Jupiter mid-April. The comet has earned its nickname, the Devil's Comet, from a significant brightening and a distortion of the coma into a horn-like shape after an out.
So the coma is distorted into a horn-like shape. Get it again? I can't make this stuff up. So do only devils have horns, or do dragons have horns? Damn, I mean, like even goats have horns. You know, a lot of things have horns. A lot of dinosaurs had horns, right? A lot of dragons have horns. Why there gotta be a devil, boss?
Distortion of the coma into a horn-like shape after an outburst in July 2023.
Ooh, after an outburst in 2023, they saw the horns and said, damn, that's a dragon.
An ominous sign, some might say. During the eclipse, it will be approximately 27 degrees from the Sun and close to bright Jupiter. Its apparent brightness around this time is expected to be around magnitude 5. The solar corona's glow during the eclipse might make it difficult to spot without binoculars or a telescope, but for those who persist, the sight will be worth it. On April 21st, 2024, the comet will reach its perihelion, the closest point to the Sun, where it will shine at its brightest in the constellation Taurus. But there's more to this comet than meets the eye. In 2024, a remarkable convergence of celestial and cultural phenomena unfolds, as if the universe itself is setting the stage for an extraordinary spectacle. Alongside the total solar eclipse and the rare visibility of the Devil's Comet, we find ourselves at the peak of solar activity, marked by an increase in solar flares and sunspots. This cosmic dance...
Come on, boss. I'm out of here, boss. I'm not even talking dragons. They're talking dragons. Drop. You can't. No one can say Drop is just making shit up at this point. Drop is just coming with crazy shit. I'm just going crazy. Y'all going crazy, man. They're bringing in dragons, Year of the Dragon, total solar eclipses. They're bringing in, you know what I'm saying? What was it? Year of the Dragon, total solar eclipses. What's the other one? Year of the Dragon, total solar eclipse is happening at the same that time during the new year. And then you got the Tecumseh's Comet. Yeah, that's the other one. Tecumseh's Comet. What does the Doomsday Comet have to do with a total solar eclipse happening 7 years apart during the year of the Dragon Balls? I can't make this up.
Is set to the rhythm of the year of the wood dragon, a symbol of strength, luck and health in Chinese astrology.
Strength, luck, and health. Dodge the hijack ball. They got this dragon going around the world. In other words, across the earth plane, right? Criss cross applesauce, right? Yeah, man. This dragon going all around the world. they they put it around a ball, right? But NASA, NASA no. What does NASA say? Total solar eclipse. Yeah, April 8th. A total solar eclipse will cross North America, passing over Mexico, United States, and Canada. All the places they invaded, huh? Total solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, or the sun and the moon are the same size, like the Book of Enoch say. And they got their path of totality. And we dug on some of that path. I think it's way more to it than we even know, man. And what's it got to do with dragon lines and ley lines? It's safety, all right, except during the brief total phase of a total solar eclipse, when the moon completely right face, it's not safe to look directly at the sun without specialized eye protection for solar doing balls. Well, is that them or is that us? Proceed with caution, however you do it, but I think they're speaking for themselves, boss. Because I think a naga, I think we're about to eat her up around here, man. I think a naga gonna eat her up around here. What does the year of the dragon have to do with a total solar eclipse in North America where the Hebrews are found? What does that have to do with the Doomsday Comet? This comet could have came around last year. This thing could have came around next year. But it comes this year, 2024, 7 years apart from 2017. Last time, total solar eclipse crossed North America, right? Or we're talking India Superior. So if these Hebrews in North America are identical to these ancient Israelites, and we know there ain't no North America boss on these maps, it begs the question, what's so special about India Superior that is getting all this cosmic attention in 2024? What does India Superior have to do with Mexico, Teo, Florida, China? And what does all that got to do with Prester? What does the Doomsday got to do with Prester? We're talking a priest king. They knew in 1500s in the British Museum, 1530, or we're talking 1548, Castaldi. They knew this ain't no North America boss. So when you say, these North American people are ancient Israel, you're talking about the Indians of India Superior. You're talking about the Hebrews. God, right. You're talking about the Doomsday. Oh, who is Prester?
Yet this is more than a rare celestial alignment. It's a cosmic ballet that may usher in a new era of understanding. A shift in consciousness, a dawn of a new age, the age of Aquarius.
Or we're just talking the book of Daniel, the prophecy, right? Let's go. Let's go.
The awe and wonder of these events may open our minds to a fresh perspective of the universe and our place within it. Now let's delve into a theory that could potentially change our understanding of space and time, the uniplanetary evolution theory. This theory suggests that our solar system is not just a collection of planets, but different stages of a planet's life. Mercury.
Hey, man, before y'all get, too brainwashy, let's just focus on what we got to focus on. We're asking a couple questions. What does all this have to do with each other? What does it got to do with the Shikamaku? Native group, right? Separated. Is this why you don't know who you are, Managa? Is this why we forgot who we are? Did you forget which house you in? You're so used to trying to buy up their real estate. Are these estates real? Or do the bank own these estates? Do you own the land your house is on? And if you own your land, why you paying taxes, boss? Tell myself the same thing, right? When they talk Rus, when Napoleon is going after, these are the original keys, right? Back to the Andrews flow. It all connects, right? This is Kiev Andrews, man. What? Kiev Andrews. And they got hijacked at the same time Genghis was hijacking the press. Do you think that's a coincidence too? And Rus is what Russia's named after. Clan Seal, Andreas, Andros, and Rus, and Reyes. Kindred to the kings of Jerusalem. Of course they're invading Jerusalem. This is who's making the last stand. X marks the spot. That's how we are getting the Tau. That's why we're getting the Tau, Mana. Because Jerusalem's right here. That's why we're getting the Tau. Lost tribes of Israel. Is you Arabis proper? That's why we're getting the Tau. That's who they were invading when it came to Napoleon or when it came to Columbus, when it came to... This is why they call you Saracens. You were the target. We are clearly, I'm not saying nothing new. We are clearly the target. Doom diverse. We have always been, right? Because they're going against all these Saracens, enemies of their Christ. And they said they can take our dukedoms, principalities, dominions, all movable and immovable goods, and give them to their successors, right? Put us in perpetual slavery, make us United States citizens, subdue all Saracens. These are Saracens, right? Saracens. Hey, that is you, Managa. That is you, God. Shout out to Lady Ann Rose. They call these Negroes today the Ann Rus or Kiev. Kiev Ann Rus. Right, this cuts right through that Mongol flow, right? The Russian Russia flow. Grand Prince of Keys, these were all Nagas. And look how they changed. Look how they switched it up. Is Drop bringing you reality or his story, right? What's the reality? That they, built those castles and moved into castles they built. What's the reality? Did they move into your homes? Do y'all believe they built this? When did they have time to build this and fight these Indian wars at the same damn time? It looks like they just found some stuff. Because if they could build this, man, they would keep doing it. Architecture would, you know, have only went up from here, man. This is ancient. They got their computerized, architecture, fancy stuff they can build today. But look at all that help they need, all this technology they need today. You telling me before power tools, before the invention of a power tool? Hold on, man. When was the first power tool invented? We gotta truly make this make sense. Before they invaded these Nagas and took our kingdoms. Kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, right? They moved into our castles and homes and land. Now, is that a thing of the past? Should I let the past be the past? That's why I'm asking this question, is that they'll say, let the past be the past, Drop, move on. America's a melting pot. It's for all different countries, and anybody can come carve their piece of the American pie. Carve it in the land of the Prester. Carve it in India's superior. We become perpetual slaves, and all our goods are now possessed by them to their successors, and they can give away our stuff, our kingdom. When was the first power tool invented, boss? When was the first power tool invented? Because I need to know. You know what I mean? Come on, man. All right. So that building I just showed you is the Canadian Parliament building, right? So first power tools invented 1895. I'm sure they weren't using that one, but cool. When was the Canadian Parliament building built? Canadian Parliament. What is it building? You know what I'm saying, man. Come on. What's the date on this thing? They ain't got no receipts to, them really building this thing. They just got some old pictures with a couple cranes. That's what they do. Put a couple cranes up. Yeah, man, when was it built? It was open 1927. When was the building built? Oh, man. I see 1865. Let's see what they say. Yeah, they on that play. Let me be more specific to these people, man. I guess they don't understand. When was the Canadian Parliament building in Ottawa? Should I say Ottawa? Come on, man. But clearly, they in the 1800s with it, or mid 1800s. It looked like. Point is, they didn't have no power tools. They had no power tools. Would they use some chisels? Oh, 1859 to 1865. So you want to tell us it took y'all 6 years to build this magnificent masonry? It looks like it got all kinds of different. Man, let me see this thing. Look at some images. It took y'all 6 years to build this without any power tools. Y'all didn't have those big bulldozers. Y'all want us to believe that? Y'all built this 6 years, no power tools. What y'all do? Now, of course, you got those like antennas looking like things, which, of course, when you dig on the Tartarian flow, they got all that similar flow, and they say, this is Tartarian. No, hijack. This is India Superior. We got some sketches of some stuff being built. Man, stop the capery, man. Just stop the capery, man. So what do y'all think? Y'all think they just found this? Or did they build it? What did it have to do with ancient, architecture, the ancient world? And this really, really intrigues me, man, because when I dig on this, get Prester 131, we did a lot of talking about TANGUT. And TANGUT was the spot that Genghis Khan went to war with Prester John, right? According to the Swords of the East, they put it right in TANGUT. And then we started digging on the TANGUT people. Now, TANGUT, on this Custody map, is right here. And if this is North America, right, then, it's an interesting map because, where exactly would be the demarcation of Canada per se? Would this be upper North America? Is Canada mapped out here or not? I don't know. But this could, if you look at like Ottawa, Florida, Ottawa, it looks very similar in orientation. And Ottawa would be pretty much like where Canada's popping off at. I mean, obviously, but, kind of the tip of you going deeper into Canada type of thing. So this building here really intrigues me because it seems like it was a castle left over from the Prester, from the Prester times. This seems way too fly for the hijack to roll up with their horse and buggies and just start popping off. You know what I'm saying? Let me take a good look at it. Take a good look at the joints in the back. It's like, look like it's made out of jade on top or something crazy. They gonna tell us whatever, but it's amazing. And we know there's thousands of these joints. Ottawa. Man, Florida. I'm just trying to see if we can see the distance here. Since we know Florida is a hard hit. Halal HaWah. How y'all reeling? Because, we reeling up around here. They're not giving me the right one yet. I'm just digging this in real time with y'all, man. Just digging on it in real time. I'll just dig on it like this. We'll put Canada first. And if it pulled this up before, I think on my phone, but you know what I mean? I was like, damn, that's like, depending on how we scale Canada in the 1500s, man, it looks like the exact same spot that TANGUT would be called. Let's see if we can get one of these joints, maybe. Let's see. This gas was way too, got way too much drop to even think the hijack is doing anything like that in the middle of the 1800s, in the middle of the Chickamauga Wars, Seminole Wars, horse and buggy, cowboy and Indians, and they building that with no power tools. I think you need to miss me with the cavalry. Come on, man. It's a little blurry. They playing with us. They know what we want. They're going to blur our maps. Come on, man. All right. Let's check this out. We got Florida, Ottawa. Now, this 1548 doesn't map out all this Canada, I don't believe. So where are they making a demarcation? Where Canada would be? Not sure. But if you look at Ottawa here, then you got all this Quebec, right? All this uncharted Quebec. Whatever's here is here. Who knows, right? Nah, but then you got, of course, all this leading into this Pink Valley Greenland flow, right? And it looks connected just like it does on this India Superior map. Again, look at where Ottawa is. Okay. All right. Here you got the Florida, same thing. And where Ottawa would be. Where Ottawa would be. Where Ottawa would be. I see TANGUT. And I definitely don't see the rest of Canada, right? So I know that they're not mapping all of Canada. Are they cutting it out right around here in the middle? We talking India Superior, right? I'm just saying it looks real connected. I can't make this stuff up. And in the same spot that you got this Ottawa pop offness, TANGUT, here's these castles and stuff that you tell us you built these in the 1800s before the invention of power tools, boss. As if we ain't gonna figure out that you are in TANGUT, boss. Why would that be important? Because in the Swords of the East by Harold Lamb, TANGUT is mentioned as the spot that Prester's at. And when you look in them rooms, just really look into that Canadian Parliament building. I think there's a room in there that looks like a throne. It's like a big old throne. I was like, is that the throne of David? Is that one of the thrones of David right there, man? I mean, they ain't gonna tell us no, answers, so we gotta keep asking these questions. Right? The failure of the envoys he had sent, Genghis had sent to Prester John to return, had decided Genghis Khan at war with the Carians was unavoidable, and the master of the horde, once his mind was made up, had moved at once toward TANGUT. Regna means kingdom, and they took your kingdoms, right? Doom diverses. 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 We bringing Prester John to life. We bringing King David to life. We are actually on the trail finding the castles, man. Finding bits and pieces of this kingdom they took. Before they put you into forever slavery perpetually, they took your kingdoms. They subdued all you Israelites here, which they like to call pagans, because these Hebrews, these Israelites, the ones they call Saracens, they like to call pagans, right? Because you are the tribes of Israel. You are the Hebrew found here. Tecum saying that. Ancient Israelites in North America, you were just found here. So this TANGUT being already in North America, where this crisscross solar eclipse, this 1820 or 1811, 1812 comet, they're calling a meteor or a comet, is a Prester. And a meteor is a dragon. Shooting meteor. And a meteor is a Prester. And a Khan is a priest. And the Khan of Khans is a Prester. Is the copper Ethiop, burnt face, Ethiopian, Abyssinian, originals, natural, that were found here, not brought here. They told on themselves. We're talking the native of America. We're talking the native of America. That is the ancient Israelite. It's just getting super simple. That is the Hebrew extraction. Yeah, because suspicion has asserted that all the natives of the continent of Columbus, okay, might probably have been originally of Hebrew extraction. Continent of Columbus, well, that's a stretch. Seemed to be the land of the superior khans that he wanted to subdue. And the Pope Nicholas, right? Nicholas V said, hey man, it's non-Christian. It's non-Ezus. Cool. Take their kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, all their principles, their dominions, their possessions, all movable and immovable goods whatsoever, held in place by them, and reduce their persons to perpetual, forever slavery, and apply and appropriate to himself and his successors their kingdoms and stuff. Appropriate to himself and his descendants born in America. Because they just found you here. Native, right? Native. Natives. North America are Israel. They took down Israel and put Israelites in slavery. They put Saracens in slavery. They put the Rus in slavery. And now X is marking a spot because it's the end of this copper-colored Khan's captivity. It's the end of Israel's captivity. You know, the kindred to Jerusalem. Khans of Jerusalem, Israel, Americans, because Khan means priests, copper colored niggas, negus, found in India Superior, and Genghis Khan was wrote up on right here. Or excuse me, Genghis Khan wrote up on Prester John right here. Khan. Because they were moving at once towards TANGUT. And they're like, yo, this coming battle between Prester John and Genghis Khan is going up, right? We got this before. The Mongols must be as near to TANGUT as we. If you are faithful to Temujin, you should ride to TANGUT at once. Their only recourse was to seek audience with the Prester John in the castle of TANGUT. Castle of TANGUT. Castle of TANGUT. Because if this is in Ottawa, boss, and look at the orientation from Florida to Ottawa, and look at the orientation from Florida to TANGUT. Got him. Say it with me, boss. body bag for the illusion. Is this could this be? It's an investigation, right? Could this be Prester John's castle? Because their only recourse was to seek an audience with the Prester in the castle of TANGUT and put their case before him. Oh, yet in the time of my father Mingan and his father, no one of our village has seen the face of Prester John. He has lived for 12 times 100 years, boss. He is a magician. Who oh who is Prester John? So just because they took over your house, your castles of TANGUT, and they turn it into Ottawa, doesn't mean these aren't still your castles in TANGUT. Just because they moved in, is it not still yours? Is this not still the castle of the Prester? Seems like this matches his swag a whole lot more. It seems like it matches the Prester drip way more than some horse and buggy hijacks that didn't even know how to farm when they came to this land. But without any power tools, boss, they can chisel this away. Stop the cavalry, boss. Am I bringing you history or reality, Manai? When they say Ottawa, are we just talking TANGUT? Canada or Canada? American or American? You decide. Getting back in the speculum, Journal of Medieval Studies. Man, let's go. 1953. Now, again, the historical Prester John by Charles E. Noel. Man or myth, Prester John played a great role from the 12th century until well after the discovery of America. He was an established part of the European pattern of thought as a potential Christian ally in the rear of the Muslim folk. He figured in plans for the later Crusades, and thus had a place in European ideas of world strategy. So Charles E. Noel, 1953, is admitting that Prester John is the reason for the Crusades, the reason they are searching for so long, right? These Spaniards, these Portuguese were searching for over 500 years. And what has all this got to do with the fountain of youth? That'll be a great dismount. Let's go. Still got a lot to cover. Let's go. So man or myth, right? Which we know they're all looking for. This ain't no myth, so we over that. This Prester 132. Now Prester John figured in their plans. Whatever their plans were, they had to figure in the priest came. The Negro priest came. Way over here in the Far East, in the Orient, in India Superior, where X is marking the spot, right? Total solar eclipse. So by entering the calculations of both Henry the Navigator and Columbus, he helped to inspire the great geographical discoveries. So he's entered into the calculations, he's entered into their plans, into their ideas of world strategy. By entering the calculations of both Henry the Navigator and Saint Christopher the Doghead. He helped to inspire the great geographical discovery. In other words, they were looking for the kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, everything we just read about in the Doom Diverse. Still later, amid conditions that had ceased to be medieval, he was a factor in the hopes and plans of Emperor Charles V. Keep that in mind, because I'm going to double right back to Charles V, the Doghead. And I want to talk about this Habsburg jaw. I never really talk about it, but they say they got this jaw, this deformity because of inbreeding. Inbreeding with who? Inbreeding with what? They say, well, they were just doing the incest thing, right? Okay. Or you were breeding with something else. And what does the Habsburg jaw have to do with cynocephala, dog-headedness? That's another great question we got to talk about. So far, we have amazing questions in Prester 132. What does this Habsburg jaw got to do with dog-headed King Charles, right? So just know that Prester John was factored into these calculations, these ideas, right? These plans. And he was a factor in the hopes and plans of Emperor Charles V, Charles Kent. All this is too well known to require elaboration, but if the Prester's importance may be taken for granted, questions do arise regarding his origin. Admitting that he was in a larger sense of a legend, it is still in order to ask whether he was in some degree also a historical personage. One thing is certain, he leaped to fame overnight in Europe on the strength of a letter sent ostensibly by him in 1165 to the Byzantine Emperor Manuel Comnenus, and undeniably forwarded by that ruler to the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick of Barbarossa. And love to Unfiltered History 144. He has a, Kawam, copper color, depiction of this Frederick Barbarossa. So, Barbar, right? Barbar. Are these barbarians or are we talking Swanites? So, I mean, as much as I've seen this, I've just now connected the Barbar with the Swanite in terms of Frederick, you know what I mean? And if Prester sent his letter to this Barbar, it was because he was a Swan Knight. And these Swan Knights love to Daniel Lowe and the Forbidden Histories of America go back to the 700s in the Kingdom of Calalus in America, right? So that's over 400, 500 years these Swan Knights are rocking. Swans, like the swan-shaped boats of Solomon to Texas. Like the swan-shaped fleet of Solomon the Builder. So it's making more and more sense why, Prester is sending his letter to the Swan Knight Roman Emperor now. Now we got to talk about the Roma, right? Because again, the Rome comes from Rimmon. The Rimmon in Hebrew means swan. Or excuse me, the Rimmon in Hebrew means pomegranate. The Barbar in Hebrew means swan. Both of these are Hebrew words of the day. All right, get them confused. But yeah, so that's pomegranate. The pomegranates are found in America by Caleb and Joshua to prove to Moses that they're in Holy Land. So whenever they got this Rome title, it has to do with the Holy Land, the Holy Rimmon, the Empire. This letter, while not the first document to use the name Prester John, is the basis of his legend, and for centuries thereafter, Europe had no substantial doubt of its authenticity. It is indeed a wondrous concoction. The Prester describes himself as ruling in India. I can't make this stuff up. Swords of the East say the castle in TANGUT, which is in India Superior, right here with you in so-called North America. Now they call it Ottawa, but right now we're calling it TANGUT Kingdom. And the TANGUT people are a group of Swarthy Nagas. Just to add a little buttercream on the pie, my Naga. These same TANGUT are the Shia, the Western Shia, like the Olmec, right? And these are a swarthy group of Nagas. There's even William of Rubruck, who traveled to various parts of the Mongol, which means great one, like Israel, Empire, 1200s or 13th century. The Tangus were valiant and had big, swarthy men. Swarthy means dark skin. Say it with me, cuz. Body bag. Because when you're talking to ogres, when you're talking to Russians, whether you're talking Olmecs, you're talking Swarthy. The Tangut people I saw were tall but swarthy. Swarthy Nagas. Swarthy Tangut. Right here with you. And they came over here, moved right into the castles of the Prester. Right here in Tangut. Canada or Canada, right? Yeah, Jack, they moved right in. They moved right to the castles of Tangut. Halal HaWah. We've been asleep, but not that long. But now that we got solar eclipses, dragons they ain't seen since 1812 popping up. Now that we in the year of the dragon, you know, popping off our Baruch Basak, man. Passover, New Year. Cons are on the rise. We on the coon. Now we know that this is the East, not the West. And that all this Mongol history took place right here in America, which is the place of the Hebrew history. India Superior is the place of ancient China and ancient Japan or Kapangu, Manaka. We're just talking Tangu. Specifically, the kingdom of the Prester, who they call a magician, who they said they got to seek an audience with, is Prester in the castle. The castle. The castle of Tangu. But today they call it the Canadian Parliament Building. It's drop giving you history or reality, man. That history says they built this without any power tools, man. Reality says they just moved in here, boss. Repurposed all our things. Took our kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities. It was a wondrous concoction. The Prester describes himself as ruling in India, a geographical expression to Europeans in 1165, and much later meant nothing more specific than a land lying to the east. I can't make this stuff up, boss. This Prester 132, boss, man. Shout out to my Aqua. Shout out to my Akis. How y'all reeling, man? Did I ask y'all that already? I know how you feeling, Cos, but how you reeling? Because you in the Far East, they flipped your maps. India was a generic term, just like it said in Rudolph Sanders, right? Tribes and promised land. Generic term. Ethiopia is a generic term. Burnt face, dark skin, fiery looking people wherever you are. India is a generic term. Copper colored cons in the Far East. Indios in Hawaii. Presters ruling in India. They're looking for them in Tangu. Tangu's on a map in India. Superior. We can't make all these coincidences happen in the year of the dragon. It's just all happening. Give me a better investigation that you're finding into the code and into your Kandawi, exactly as scriptures, telling us and prophesying from Hosea to Ezekiel to Jeremiah, that Daniel's telling us knowledge will be abounding. You gotta empty your cups, man. Get your orientation pies and get your orientation enchiladas. Because this ain't no play. This is just the intro, man. All right, man. So you see, the big man, the boss man, the Khan of Khans was a factor. He was a factor in the 1500s. He was a factor in the 1200s. He's a factor all the way up into the 1800s because they're just still moving into his castles. He was a factor in the British Museum because when you're talking land of Canaan, you're talking Hanan or Canaan or, say it with me, boss, Antioch. Geoffrey Sykes, mythical straits of Antioch. Khan was a factor in the plans of Columbus and Henry the Navigator. All the crusade talk, the Khan has always been a factor right here at home in India Superior. Yeah, they say this is the land of Canaan. We say those Canaanites were encroaching on Israel, were in lands that were not theirs by lot, were not theirs by birthright. We say the children of Lot sure did want more. They weren't satisfied with their lot. They weren't pleased with their lot. They wanted all of a Maxim. They wanted all of Antioch or Canaan. Choose your Canaan. This is where that map comes from, out the British Museum, right? Because the map maker has placed Prester John and his idolatrous neighbors, all the hijacks that's invading him, not very far from Mexico. 1530s, Prester John. And the Strait of Anion today would be the Bering Strait. And back then we can walk across, right? All the lands are connected. So when it says three Indias, Prester John and three Indias, we know we got Orient ties that is all connected. Just picking up right here, it says, it was not until Juan Fernandez had taught southbound voyagers how to make more rapid progress against the southeast trade winds by standing offshore the way Peru was made clear. Progress towards the north was equally slow, and it was only by working slowly alongshore, taking advantage of the numerous harbors of New Spain. And although this was not yet fully realized, by keeping under the lee of the California Peninsula, that some knowledge of the coast was gained in this direction and in the face of baffling winds and adverse currents. Although the good Marco had been far more a land traveler than an ocean voyager, he had given a brief description of the authority of certain eastern pilots of the great city of Chin. Are we talking the Ka? Dodge the vowels. This became China, but we're just talking about Khan, like Canada, right? Or America, right? Wherein lay no fewer than 7,440 islands. Take everything, right? Including the great and rich island of Zipangu, which became Japan, which itself lay at a distance of about 1,500 miles from the coast of Manji. Okay. Now this Zipangu, they took it off the maps, but it was like right there, tucked. I think it was like in between Florida and Cuba, or it was just tucked into almost in the mainland of America. This is the original Japan. All right? And then they made a new Japan, just like they made a new China. 1,500 miles from Manji. Again, back to this Castaldi map, you see a Mangi. So again, one letter rule, Horace Butler. They say M-A-N-G-I or J-I. This is M-A-N-G-I. So 1,500 miles from this, right? That's plausible that you can have an island 1,500 miles from that. And I believe this Kapangu or Zipangu was tucked like right around here, man, right? You know, it was nestled right in here. And now it disappeared from the maps. Just disappeared. They said, how many islands was it? Because remember, after they took your stuff, their King Alfonso, by his authority, justly and lawfully has acquired and possessed and doth possess these islands, lands, harbors, and seas, and give it to their descendants or successors. What islands? They just broke it down, right? So again, that's why the Mongol history and this indigenous India history, India superior history, all this merges. Because these islands are the same. You're just talking West Indies, you're talking the Americas, man. You see Anion, all these maps, Quivera, Kivera, Iberu, Ibera, Iber, the original Iber. All this is connected to ancient Israel, which is back to that Tecumseh flow and why that author is calling this ancient Israel. These ancient Israelites, when you talk Americas, man, that's why they called you black. That's why they called you colored. Just like the scriptures, that's why they call us all these bywords. Because the truth is, they don't want to deal with the fact that they invaded Hebrews. They'll rather keep passing their cappery, their history, that they've savages. not castles, not civilization, not the tribes of Israel. They can't tell their Christian friends we're invading, massacring, genociding, and slaughtering, raping, and pillaging the Israelites. That these treaties are on the heads of the Israelites, and that we're stealing Israelite lands, islands, castles, and seas, and putting Israelites into perpetual slavery. They can't let history say that. They gotta make it mythical, right? When it comes to the Prester, whether he's a myth or a man on these Antioch Kingdom, a mythical Straits of Antioch. They turned our world into a myth. When mountains were trees, mythical trees, right? And we got a mythical creator, right? And a mythical inheritance, right? You must be some mythical Nagas. You don't even exist no more, huh? Hell no, that ain't. Hell no, that ain't right. They just took our kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, our movable and immovable goods, and they kept it to themselves, and they gave us a story. And now it's wakey wakey, man. All right, man, this thing's taking a while, but you see what it is, man. Y'all see what it is. This ain't nothing new to the waves. So we saw Manji. They say Manji with a J, right? 1,500 miles. This great, rich island. 1,500 miles from Manji, like we just got, right there in America. The hypothetical existence of a sea so vast necessitated the carrying of the western coast of Mexico, which they're calling New Spain, very far to the north. Now that it was understood that all the regions and adjuncts of Asia must perforce lie beyond the new continent. All the regions of Asia must lie beyond the new continent. I can't make this stuff up. All the regions of Asia must lie beyond India superior. And how many more lands beyond the pole? All the lands of Asia must lie beyond the new continent, right? Manji. Let me back it up to King Charles, Black ass King Charles, right quick. I ain't gonna spend too long on this. Maybe get a Prester John Legend and his sources. Dismount my knife. Fountain of Youth dismount. We're taking our time. Prester John, 132nd installment. This is always an honor and a gift to share to you, HaWah. You know, on behalf of Drop Nation, we give this investigation to you, HaWah. And it's an honor to share this energy, collective energy, with you, all power, creator, most high over everything. Because we know that for us to be hitting this mark right now is a special thing. The Prester describes himself as ruling India, man. They're turning into North America. India was nothing more specific than a landline to the east. He goes on to say that he is a Christian sovereign. Dodge the hijack. and to describe in patronizing, condensing tones, condescending tones, his power and wealth, the vastness and diversity of his empire, kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, and the botanical, zoological, and anthropological marvels to be found there. They're finding marvels, right? He even down here talks about Prester John Pseudoroy de Abyssinia. Always putting the Abyssinia with it. Now, since he was a factor in the hopes and plans of Emperor Charles V, it just got me thinking about these dog heads a little bit. Just did a quick little 1-2, just looking into some of this dog-headedness, man. I ain't gonna go too much into it. But it's just crazy how these things kind of overlap a little bit. You know, Smithsonian. Actually, let's start right here. Habsburg jaw. Love to owlcation.com. HaLal HaWah. All right, just real quick. What's this Habsburg jaw thing about? They say Charles V had this Habsburg situation. Charles II had super Habsburg situation. Let's get it bigger. Also known as Habsburg lip or the Austrian lip, the Habsburg jaw is a physical condition known by the modern term. I'm glad they gave me some terminology. Mandibular prognathesism. Okay. I was looking for because I've been cross-referencing this thing with sinus of phallus and dog-headedness. So now they gave us some more homework to do. Just cross-referencing mandibular prognathesism, characterized by a jutting lower jaw that is often accompanied by an abnormally thick lower lip and sometimes an abnormally large tongue. What's it got to do with the dog-headedness, man? My point is, if St. Christopher's a dog-head, and he was commissioned by this King Charles V, and these are all parts of this sinus of phallus who was cursed with dog-headedness back in the kingdom of Atlantis by King Alcathous, because the shepherd syphilis, is a shepherd named Syphilis, which, again, side note, what does syphilis have to do with gout, which is what Charles had and what Christopher had, Columbus had gout, and we connected the sinus of phallus, syphilis, and the gout, because it all has to do with the dog genes, inbreeding genes of dog-headed tribes. Yeah, man. Look, the truth looks stranger than fiction. It's like Cinderella. Eventually, the spell wears off and these people start looking crazy. It says it in the 2nd Baruch 73 that the countenance of the wicked will turn even more wicked at the end of days. And the countenance of the righteous, you'll be shining like stars and sparking like stars, right? So the righteous look beautiful and the wicked look terrible. And it's back to their dog-headedness. What's it got to do with this jaw situation? What's it got to do with this big-ass tongue? What's it got to do with all these dog-headed traits, right? So, I mean, are we just under a spell that they don't look like dog heads no more? I ain't playing, man. We're talking silence of father. Even Columbus had records of dog-headed tribes in America being here already. We're talking Atlantis, right? Egypt got all. They got Anubis. They got all their dog-headedness in Egypt. We're talking Atlantis, Kyle. It is believed that the Habsburg jaw originated in the family of Polish royals, and the first person known to have it was Maximilian. And Maximilian, if I'm not mistaken, is the pops. He's the father of Quinto, something like that. They're definitely related. We're talking Holy Roman Emperor, right? And then comes Charles, who ruled 1486 to 1519. Then Charles picked it up from there. Many portraits of this monarch featured a pronounced underbite. Bite like a dog bite? Through generations of royals marrying each other and closing the ranks of their gene pools. The Habsburg dog manifested itself everywhere, boss, because everywhere are these dog heads. Remember when Genghis Khan invaded Prester John? It was the year of the dog, right? Just remember that. Put that to the side. The House of Habsburg, which is named after the Habsburg Castle in Switzerland, is associated with the Habsburg jaw because many of its members had it. Come on, man. They're not saying it came from just a random genetic mutation. They're saying it was because of the marrying each otherness or inbreeding, incest. All we're talking is that a cover-up for the dog-headedness. Is the dog-headedness so bad and so worthy of having to cover it up that they say, damn, we need something else. We can't say dog-headed. Let's say incest. Let's say we got our dog-headed features because of incest. I know that sounds bad, but it don't sound as bad as being a dog head. Yeah, I think you're right. Fuck it. Incest. We're talking jaws and bites. So real quick, Charles II, the last Spanish Habsburg, was feeble-minded, physically deformed due to his limited gene pool. So they were getting weaker and weaker, sicker and sicker. Their whole countenance looked terrible. 14 times because of first and second cousins intermarrying. Mandibular prognosticism was so pronounced that it was said that he could not chew his food and that the size of his tongue caused him to drool like a dog significantly. He had mental issues. It seemed like the dog-headedness just couldn't be suppressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was taking over. It was taking over. Let's go. Now I can't make this stuff up. Just look up St. Christopher the Doghead and you see we're not playing. And is St. Christopher actually Christopher Columbus? And you put back the 1,000 years plus that they took, you got very similar situations happening. St. Christopher was known to carry this Christ child. Some people just call that child Jesus. Others say the Christ child. But this was 200 AD according to their timeline, well after the Jesus timeline. 200 years like after Jesus lived and died, here comes this Christ child that St. Christopher carries over. I think that is Christopher Columbus carrying over Esteban or St. Stephen, who was the first Christian martyr who would also be called the Christ, Stephen the Christ. And Esteban, black ass Esteban, dog-headed Esteban, is the one that had the magic to, he's called the child of the sun in the cartoon, right? Child of the sun, anointed of the sun god, Esteban. Black Esteban can cure their dog-headedness. And I believe he cured St. Christopher or Christopher Columbus's dog-headedness. May have even cured Charles V in them for a little bit. But they still had the gout, which is the syphilis or cynocephala. This is just a dog. This is just a breeding dog, document. But, and it kind of brings you directly to the Habsburg. And, why would they go from the dogs to these European royals? Look how they make Charles II look, and his family is melanated. He's related directly right to the King Charles Quinto in there, Maximilian in them, right? Inbreeding. But this is a dog site. Because these dogs also have this Habsburg situation. This is, again, real quick. I'm just touching on this since they brought up Charles V. So I could bring up Charles V. Intermarrying, same thing. Lower jaw grows faster than the upper jaw. Bites. Bites of the alchemical serpent. AaronRack.com. So whether we're talking overbites, right? Or we're talking Habsburg jaw, or Habsburg lips, or Austrian, all this is the same thing. We're just talking dogs, boss. This is all about dogs. Why do we keep running into the Habsburg jaw when we're just looking at dog breeding websites? Why do we keep running into the Habsburg? Dog heads. I'm just going to put dog. Cynocephala. I mean, I don't know. Let's just go crazy. Yeah, that's the Habsburg in dogs. I mean, I'm leading you to the water, my nigga. You click these links, you dig on it further, man. But guarantee you're going to get more and more of a connection. You know what I mean? Between this dog-headed situation, man. They want you to believe it's just got to do with inbreeding, cousins on cousins, which, all right, cool. I think it has to do with dogs. I think it has to do with dogs. Either breeding with these damn things. Yeah. I think it's called bestiality, right? Or you're saying that you actually already have the dog gene because you already been hit with the dog-headedness from the days of Atlantis. underbite, undershoot, reverse scissor bite. Seems to be popping when it comes to dogs. Just interesting thing. I just want to throw it out there for the for Drop Nation. Have you ever considered the Habsburg jaw having to do with dog headedness and dog genes, breeding with dogs, or just being dog heads? Dog heads. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Pedigree dogs exposed. Oh, there they go. The Habsburg. Pedigree dogs exposed. Y'all dig on it. I got some more stuff to dig on, but we're just saying Charles in there, man. Yeah. Least of four members of the family, so it just who's the most deformed, who's the least deformed, who's the most dog head, who's the least dog head. And now it has done now it has and it has now done with dogs. You know what I'm saying? As it has now done with dogs. So in all likelihood the inbreeding was still caught up with them sooner or later, as it has now done with dogs. Come on, my nana. Come on. Then they want to compare this and talk about polygenes. And polygenes, can be common depending on the gene, but in this case, we don't know which gene is making up the polygene genetics for these dog-headed genes to be coming out. How can we make these more recessive? How can we hide our dog-headedness a little longer? Just a quick thing from a forum called Paradox Plaza. This is last paragraph here. Come on, man. Most European royal houses exhibited some form or less the same, some form of less than same behavior. All right, it has to be said that I do feel sorry for Otto of Bavaria, who was as mad as the next king, but was never known as Otto the Mad. His madness was expressed in relatively harmless things like what? Barking like a dog. Charles and Ferdinand, right? Habsburg, same European royal house. And you're saying that some of them was barking like dogs? This one right here, you got the dog-headed gene, you got the Habsburg jaw, and you're going crazy in your mind because you're saying it's from inbreeding, but you're barking like a dog. You got extra big tongues. You're drooling and you're barking like dogs. You're drooling and barking like dogs. Okay. Okay, boy. You know. Polygenes. Polygenes. Member of a group of non-epistatic genes that interact additively to influence a phenotypic trait. Phenotypic trait, Habsburg draw, thus contributing to multiple gene inheritance. Multiple genes. Genes of humans, genes of dogs. They're barking and they're drooling, huh? A type of non-Mendelian inheritance. Man, look, man. Just research how these polygenes connect with this Habsburg situation. Okay? I ain't got time for this. Look up polygenes. Cross-reference Habsburg. Go crazy, man. That's for them to figure out themselves. I'm not here all day to figure out them. I'm just letting you know that this shit is crazy. All right, stuff is crazy. Another one you can look at, the medium or medium. All right, my bad. Oh yeah, here comes Atlas. In the 16th century, people share a stroke of fortune that was Charles V's inheritance. How multiple random deaths caused one man to end up ruling roughly half of Europe and a bunch of colony Americans. How Charles V hijacked the Americas. That should be the name of this thing. 16th century people shared a common belief that fortune was a force to be reckoned with, as you could win or lose its favor at a turn of events. This was perfectly compatible with their Christian beliefs, and it made an interesting comparison between thanking fortune and recognizing one's debt to it versus whatever God was to be thanked and owed for. Usually, these two things went hand in hand. Providence, divine or otherwise, was as almighty as Atlas. Come on, man. Back to the Atlanteans, which is a plural of Atlas, which is the son of Poseidon, brother of Zeus. Jesus, carrying the celestial heavens on his shoulder. Emperor Charles V, the human embodiment of Caesar's luck in many respects. Caesar's luck was, to a greater or lesser extent, the belief that emperors were especially in fortune's favor, separate from divine favor, which they already had purely because God anointed them to be in their exceptional position to begin with. For Charles of Ghent, who thinks he is emperor, as a rebellious German elector and landgrave used to call him in their correspondence, this started in a not so common childhood. So he just, a bunch of random events, right, gave him the throne. Or was it orchestrated? Was it plotted out? Was it orchestrated of how to steal the car? How can you steal the car? And look how they got him here, man. Do I gotta go get that other picture again? Look at this, man. Look at this, man. Just so much hijack city happening in one place. You dig on that, I'll also leave this link called Inbreeding or wiki.org Inbreeding. And it's going to go further to the inbreeding of these hijacks, the gene expression, might dig on some of them polygenes a little more for you. Domestic animals, humans, and here we go with the Habsburgs. Here we go with the Habsburg. Yeah, man. And look like it said even they're just talking about inbreeding. All right. What does it got to do with the Egyptian pharaohs? Back to Atlantis. Back to Atlantis. Just something I just had in my head, Bone. What does Habsburg have to do with Cynocephalus, St. Christopher, these dog heads? What does St. Christopher have to do with Esteban? What does Esteban have to do with King Charles? What dog-headed Charles sanctioned Esteban to do whatever he wanted. Sanctioned Columbus to do whatever he wanted right here in America. 1452 Papal Bull, in 1492 Columbus sails the ocean blue, right? Manifest Destiny, Pope Nicholas, King Alfonso, Ferdinand Isabella, Charles and then Roman Empire, all of them sanctioned us to be invaded, searched out, and captured. And these are the inbreds. What? Yeah, your guess, your guess, my naga, is as good as mine. But these phenotypes, genes, they don't lie. Like they pop out. Even when it comes to them always mad and all this mad this and Henry the mad and all these people going mad. This dog headedness, this gout, this syphilis flow. You know what I'm saying? All this is because of this inbreeding, man. And this is why HaWah didn't want us to mix with these other nations or tribes, man. You got the syphilis stuff to this day, a lot of the sexually transmitted diseases still carry these genetic traits. That's why HaWah said be careful mixing with these daughters of Moab or these daughters of yada yada, Also because they was bringing us their gods, right? But mainly too because it was literally like you're mixing with the dog genes. You're mixing with the dog heads, man. For the dismount. Prester John Legend and his sources. Hey, to the Khan battle. Jacques de Vitre, letter number 7, April 18, 1221. So this is right after the invasion of Genghis Khan. Still in the title David, still in the title Prester, still in the title Khan. So this letter written from Egypt details Jacques' state of mind about the stories that were being broadly circulated about King David. My naga, this is 1221. Now, Genghis started calling himself David, but before that, right, we have David. We have a whole line of Hebrew Davids. So let's see and decipher which David we're talking about. 1221, just know that King David plays, right? In short, he believed that, according to Jacques, the Muslim enemy did too, and in fear sent letters of entreaty to make peace with the Crusaders, which they refused. King David was for Jacques the ultimate destroyer, coming to help the Crusaders vanquish Islam forever. Don't that sound like the story of Prester John? They're looking for help against these Muslims and to vanquish these Muslims, and the Christians need help. That's the cover story. In reality, both of these factions are working together to take the promised land from the Hebrew King David, Prester John, in America. His discovery in Egypt of 2 prophecies foretelling the end of Islam seemed to confirm this. At the end of the letter, Jacques mentions that they had been waiting for several months for further word from King David, but had heard nothing. Jacques and his fellow Crusaders were, however, waiting patiently and hopefully. This delay of several months was a major factor in the failure of the 5th Crusade. Because Prester's not trying to help no Christians, because they worship Zeus. The Prester rocks with HaWah, with the Creator. It also seems likely that Jacques preached to the Crusaders that Prester John's arrival was imminent. So A, Jacques, with divine permission, the unworthy minister of the Church of Acre, to the most holy Father and Lord, honors, by God's grace, the highest Pope, as much by obligation as devotion, showing respect with the kiss to the feet. B, Jacques with divine, so these are different translations, with divine permission, the unworthy minister of the Church of Acre. All right, so I got all three. I'm just going to skip ahead. Interesting how it says Austria. Remember that Austria lip thing? All right. Let's jump into it. So when we held 4 parts in Egypt, named Damicia, Donis, Torinum, in the sand in the castle of Butavant, on a most large lake, with our situation always getting better, the condition of our enemies taking a turn for the worse, especially since the Saracens were having quarrels and battles among themselves. So sometimes they use that just to talk about the Muslims or Islam, but let's put it in context. The king of Damascus, Cordine, who had besieged the castle of the pilgrims, withdrew with great confusion, many of his men having been killed, but his brother called Seraph, his brother's called Dragon, man, hearing that David, king of the Indians, man, Prester John, is called the king of the Indians. You understand? That's why you need to know where India's superior is. Had invaded his land, was compelled to return from our parts along with his enemy. But this King David, the most powerful man and a knight, strenuous in arms, fiery in nature, most victorious in battle, whom the Lord roused in our times to be the hammer of pagans and the exterminator of the pestilential tradition and detestable law of the faithless Muhammad. I'm not saying it. This is what they say. So this King David is the hammer of pagans. So it's putting an end to the pagan stuff. It's putting an end to the detestable law of the faithless Muhammad. He is the man whom the common people call Prester John. This is a letter from 1221, Manaka. Prester John, Legend and His Sources by Keegan Brewer, Crusade Text, number 27. So Prester John is supposed to be the hammer against all out of code peoples, nations, you know what I'm saying? All detestable laws. This is why Christianity don't really rock with King David like that. They rock with JC, right? Islam don't really rock with David like that. They rock with Muhammad, right? So who's going to rock with King David? Who's going to rock with the Prester? He is the man whom the common people call Prester John, although he was the smallest of his brothers, as we have read of David the prophet, the Holy One of Israel. He was placed before all and crowned as king by divine inspiration. But oh, how the Lord has marvelously pushed him forward these days and amplified his acts, directing his steps and subjecting to his dominion countless peoples, races, tribes, and languages. As will be known from the copy of the following tract, which we manage as well as we are able to translate from Arabic into Latin. Remember who was speaking the Arab proper, right? Jokta, right? Through trustworthy translators, excerpts from the history of the deeds of David, king of the Indians, who was called Prester John by the common people. Wow. So the following things have been translated from another tract. Here he has included the text of the second version of the Relatio de David. Let's go. But King David has 3 armies, one of which he sent into the land of Caliph, the brother of the Sultan of Egypt. Another he sent to Baghdad. The third he sent towards Musan or Mosul, which is known by its ancient name Nineveh or Nineveh. And now he is only 15 days' journey away from Antioch, hurrying to come to the promised land to visit the sepulchre of the Lord and rebuild the holy city. So all this has to do with Israel, Jerusalem, America, India Superior. Earlier, however, he proposed, with the Lord allowing it, to subjugate to the Christian name the land of the Sultan of Iconium, Aleppo, and Damascus, and all the regions lying in between, so that not even one adversary would remain behind him. His men coming from those parts brought copies of the preceding letters to the Count of Tripoli. Also merchants from the eastern parts, carrying various spices and precious stones, brought similar letters. Moreover, all the people coming from these parts say the same thing. Also, certain men from our army were captured by the Sultan of Egypt, and he sent them to his brother Cordin in Damascus, and Cordin then sent them to his lord, the Caliph of Baghdad, al-Nasir. But this man sent the aforesaid captives to King David as a great gift. After he learned that they were Christians, he undertook to lead them back to Antioch, freed from their chains. They then brought back to us the aforesaid rumors about King David and many more things besides. So the Sultan of Egypt, hearing through the messengers the aforesaid Caliph of Baghdad of the invincible power of the aforesaid King David and his marvelous triumphs, and how he had now seized in his powerful hand almost 200 days' journey of the lands of the Saracens, and that there were no one who was strong enough to resist him. Terrified in soul and confused in mind, began to call forth to himself certain nobles of ours, who he was holding captive in a prison in Cairo, namely the elect of Beauvais, and his brother, the Viscount of Belmont, John of Arquis, La Bataille, Odo of Catilan, Andrew of Carignan, and certain men of his brothers of the temple and the hospital of St. John, and the house of the Teutons, through whom he hoped to obtain peace with us. He also sent across to us his own messengers in the army of Demetia, with letters testing in every way if it were possible to have peace or truce with us. But the aforesaid army of the Christians rejoiced at the aforesaid rumors and was strengthened in the Lord, and especially after we received the letter of Frederick, Emperor of the Romans, with his messengers confirming that the Lord allowing it, he was about to come with great strength and sumptuous supplies next August to the honor of God and subsidy of the Christians. Hijack city, that never happened. Which leads you to the only conclusion is that wasn't no King David rocking with no Christians. It wasn't no Prester rocking with no Christians. They only made that up to give them some type of hope, to give themselves hope or give their people hope as Christians, to spark off the crusades and hop on these boats and searched for this great Christian king in the Far East who was a Negro, a nigger. Accordingly, last year, a certain book of the Saracens of great authority to them came to our hands. A certain astrologer of theirs, who the Saracens considered to be a great prophet, had written it from the beginning of their law, with the greatest devotion. He foretold, among many other things, for how long their law would remain, and that as it had begun by the sword, so it would die by the sword. In addition, he prophesied how many evil deeds Saladin would commit against the Christians, and how, before the destruction of the race of the pagans and extermination of their law, he would subject to his power the kingdom of Jerusalem with many other kingdoms. Yeah. So it's really interesting, is this King David here Genghis Khan, or is he the David that was invaded by Genghis Khan? Just belly flopping. But since the man who foretold such things turned out to be a Saracen, many of our men have refused to have faith in his words, not realizing that Balaam, the seer and pagan, prophesied about Christ and the sons of Israel, and how Nebuchadnezzar dreamt about the future kingdoms and the stone cut from the mountain without hands, and how Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, foresaw in dreams the enigmas of future fertility and the following barrenness, and how Cephas, like Cephas, since he was the high priest of that year, prophesied not by himself alone, but by the Holy Spirit, speaking like the ass Balaam, and not understanding what he was saying. And I do not estimate anything to have been said openly about the holy prophets, about both Christ and his coming, and the Lord said through the Sibyl, indeed testimony that is advanced from the part of our enemies is more solid. So as much as they want to, bring this into their Christus, man, they're just talking holy city, my dog. I just want to see about getting one more for the dismount as we belly flop. This is just more substantiating recon, more letters, late 1220s, Oliver of Paderborn, history of Domitian. Back to the Fifth Crusade, right? One of the most intimate chroniclers. He later went on to become Bishop of Paderborn. In essence, his writings on Prester John reinforced the depth to which the Prester John idea had spread throughout those involved with the Fifth Crusade. Oliver's theological tone provides a powerful depiction of King David, here the son of Prester John, right? Because remember, Prester has a son, David Soslan, right? Get the last drop, as the hammer of Asia. So this David Soslan, now we're getting specific. Are we talking Genghis Khan, or are we talking the son of the Prester, or the Prester himself? King of the Indias, right? 3 Indias. It seems likely that Oliver delivered sermons to the Fifth Crusaders using similar representations of Prester John. Oliver reveals how fear of King David affected military decisions. Remember, we just got that. They had to factor in the Prester, whether you're talking Columbus or Charles V. They had to factor in the Prester, even Henry the Navigator, because King David affected the military decisions marking in the Holy Land, as well as Egypt. Belly flopping, let's go. Oof, it's good stuff, man. I'm just belly flopping. I'm gonna get it from here, right here. I will begin and I will make an end, says the Lord. Behold, I shall make a word, and whoever shall hear it, both his ears shall ring. Mine is the dominion of the kingdoms of men. My counsel shall stand, and all my will shall be done. There is no one who is strong enough to resist my countenance. There is no wisdom, there is no prudence, there is no counsel against the disposition of my will. For the whole world before me is as the least grain of the balance, and as a drop of the morning dew that falls down upon the earth. Who shall say to me, what have you done? Or who shall withstand my judgment? I have found David, my servant. With my holy oil have I anointed him. Sounds like that Psalms 89, right? My firstborn. David is called firstborn in Psalms 89. King of the Indians. So this is real specific. I have anointed David king of the Indians, and India superior, whom I have ordered to avenge my wrongs, to rise up, coon, against the many-headed beast. To him I have brought victory against the king of the Persians. We're talking Babylon, exilarchs, right? David Soslan. I have placed a great part of Asia beneath his feet. King of the Indians, right? The king of the Persians, raised into excessive pride, wished to be the monarch of Asia. King David, who they call the son of Prester John, won the first fruits of victory against him. Then he subjected to himself other kings and kingdoms, as we have learned from a report that has reached far and wide. There is no power on earth. There is no power on earth strong enough to resist him. He is believed to be the executor of divine vengeance, the hammer of Asia. Where's Asia, boss? We're still just talking India superior, God. The great many letters written about the victory of King David, along with his common fame amongst Christians and Saracens, or Muslims and Christians, lend support to this prophecy. That's what we're saying about David. That's what we're saying about Prester John. Is that you can look up Prester John through the Christianized history, Otto of whatever they call him, Otto of Friesling, whatever they call him. First person to report about the Prester letter, the Crusades, all this stuff. Or you can find Prester John digging on the Mongol history under the Wang Kong, Genghis Khan, uncle of Genghis Khan, or foster father, caretaker, all that. Or you can go, right into the scriptures and, dig on, the King David, and all of the prophets prophesying one shepherd forever, Ezekiel, all that with King David. King David is going to keep popping up. You can go into the Indian history. Then you got King David of India. Right? Then you got all this China flow, the Khan of Khan flow. You know what I mean? You got the Wang, the Han dynasty flows, Jin dynasty. So the Mongol history is the Hebrew history, is the Native American India superior story, Khan. You put that together, you unravel the whole pie. Russia, Andros, She, Almec, TANGUT, Swarthy Naga's Indian superior, King David, Khan of Khans, Prester child. Yeah, right in your face, man. They were influenced by the power of King David, the conqueror who was powerfully driving forward against the king of Persians, right? So you got all that Daniel flow, book of Daniel, right? Daniel or Gilead, perfection of his father. Daniel is a perfection of his father David. Daniel's kidnapped by Nebuchadnezzar, raised in his kingdom now. He kidnapped a son of David. Sounds like Genghis Khan, right? Yeah, man. Now you got this Persian, Babylonian, Exarch situation. And on account of him, they were afraid to go far from their lands. They also reflected that their castles of the Hospitallers or the Templars would not easily be captured in a short time. But they finally got the one in Canada, right? The Parliament building. Dang. I mean, these letters go on and on. Prester John features in a number of these accounts, and for the first time, a number of European writers begin to wonder whether his fame was justly deserved. He said, maybe he's not as rich as we thought. Maybe we're embellishing. The fact is that he's a factor. He's a factor when you talk Henry the Navigator. He's a factor when you're talking Columbus and Charles. And he's a factor when you talk Europe. He's a factor when you talk about these Mongols. He's a factor when you talk to Kumse and the Hebrews right here. He's a factor when you talk to Kumse's comet, because a comet is a meteor, and a meteor is a Prester. The Prester is a factor when you talk Melchizedek, because you're talking priest and king. It's a factor. The Prester is the factor, but first you must keep the code. Because if you ain't keeping the code, it ain't no matter about your kingdom. It ain't no matter about getting your stuff back. You trying to prove to the world who you are, you got to prove to the creator who you are. Are you a code keeper or are you not? Because your Israelite nature can't save you no more. You're code keeping. The code you keep is the only thing, Managi, at this point in the game that's going to raise your frequency. History won't do it, but your frequency can be raised by the code, man. And the history can be your story, your reality. So we're no longer talking history, but coming back into our reality, waking up from our slumber, our stupor, our Ruach Tarde Ma, bumping that tribe up music with Five Eyes Ma. Shout out to the Khan, man. It's all about energy, frequency, and vibration. Energy, frequency, and vibration. I really love this text, especially when I finally get to open it back up with y'all. It's just so many. The King David character in reality, Genghis Khan, is here equated with Prester John rather than being his descendant, Pelagius, who initially told the Pope the story of King David, was himself leader of the Fifth Crusade. So now Genghis Khan has stolen the Khan, and now when they're talking King David, they're talking Genghis Khan. Well, how could that be, right? Because before 1202, it wasn't confusion. After 1202, they don't know which David Is Genghis in history in which David is the King David, son of Prester, or the Prester John of India. And again, Prester John's son is also David, Exilard David Sawson, right? So this King David, in my opinion, is the one that Genghis Khan wrote up on, the son of Prester, not Prester directly. But they're trying to figure it out. Is David the Christian king of India, known as Prester John, coming with a mighty force against the Saracens? Is Genghis, is David son of Prester, or is David Genghis? Depends on which time period we're looking at, right? Just showing you all these different substantiating sources in the Prester John legend and its sources. Collection of letters from the Crusades. For the dismount, because this is when it gets too real. Because again, all this was very recent, especially if you put the timelines back, right? These are very detailed letters. Clearly, this ain't no play. King David brought together the greatest people of another 16 great men, one of which had 100,000 men, another which had 200,000. Come on, man. 16 great men sound like David's mighty men. Sound like them giants and stuff. He gladly wished to enter into agreement with King David, but he utterly refused. And so the Shavar Smithsan brought together an innumerable people, crossing the river Jian, or John, and prepared himself to powerfully oppose King David. King David strongly defeated him on the field of battle, and the greater part of his people was killed. Or these biblical wars played out in the 1200s. Katai is Cathay, Kata. Like karate does the katas, and the karate is the kara. So the karate or karata have katas, or kita or kate. Interesting. I'm going quickly, man. I mean, when we belly flop, we belly flop. Indeed, he is said that a certain king, David by name, a very noble man, would make the kingdom of the Persians his subject. The aforesaid Kana, king of the Persians, questioned them about this. If they knew of any such king in those provinces who was called David, they said they knew of no one who was called by such a name. However, King Israel had a very small son who's called David. And who's King Israel with the son called David? Back to the Prester flow. Who is of no importance. Then the aforesaid king said to the astrologers, let us send word to this brother so that he may send him to us. And in this way, let us kill him and we will free ourselves from his name. Sound like the Jesus story, right? Now he's running in Egypt, right? For this reason, he sent his messengers to David's brother, the king of India, that he should send him his brother because he wished to do service to him and honorably advance him. The boy was very beautiful when he saw the king. When the king saw him, he immediately felt pity for him. The two wives of the king were present there, one of whom was the daughter of King John, the paternal aunt of David's father, King Israel. The other was the daughter of King Gonisi, from whom he had a son called Philip. Do you not fear God? They asked him. The boy came to you under your faith and is under your protection. And he touches your carpet with his feet, and you want him to be handed over to death for nothing. So the king felt shame in his heart and returned to his native land. Without delay, the boy rode off with his men, and with God stirring him on, he rode 40 leagues by day and night, speeding up and returning up his return by changing his horses often. So this wasn't no teeny boy, this was a horse riding boy. After the king's scribes and astrologers came to him and reproached him that he did wrongly because he allowed the boy to return, the king was immediately sorry for what he had done, sent horsemen after him to apprehend him, but they did not find him, for indeed he had escaped by divine will. This is how they is coming at David, my knight. This is how they try to take out the cub ever since he was a boy. This is the Relatio da David, first version. This text, so-called, is a Latin translation of what is thought to be a tract originally written in Arabic by a Christian in Baghdad, 1221, but some of the material here was certainly added by the Latin translators. It describes in essence the conquest of Genghis Khan, but instead he is presented as a Christian king named David. See how they try to confuse it. Great-grandson of Prester John, a figure who becomes from this point on a regular feature of the Prester John legend. They try to confuse it, but this brings the Genghis Khan story to life as well. The more and more war story to life. And just let you know how important the name, the title David is. So whether we're talking about the hijacking of David under Genghis Khan, or the David, the actual David line, the actual David heritage, you see how important David has always been. Whether you're looking in the 1200s, the Dark Ages, the Mongol, and of course the Christian history. And even in the Islam flow, where he becomes their Dajjal because he's going to return, but they had to make him some false messenger because they can't have two messengers, right? But neither can we, man. Neither can we. One shepherd forever. Ezekiel 34 and 37. Jacques de Vitry said that Prester John Christians were Jacobites, which may indicate that he was here equating Prester John with Ethiopia. This is Jacques de Vitry letter. I'm going quickly. The Fifth Crusade took place between 1217 and 1221 in two theaters, the Holy Land and Egypt. Belief in Prester John here had an important impact on world history, being partly responsible for the failure of the Crusades as a whole. While the Fifth Crusaders were in northern Egypt, after having made a few conquests there, news reached them of the first conquest of Genghis Khan in Asia, which called to mind Prester John. Around the same time, the leaders of the Fifth Crusade discovered a book of prophecies in Egypt that said that a king from the west, and a king from the east would meet in Jerusalem and destroy Islam forever. This they took to mean that Prester John was coming from the east to help them win the crusade. Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II was believed to be the king from the west. He too never arrived. Is it play? Birdman era. They're waiting for the black man to arrive. They want to be saved by a Negro, right? Pope Alexander III, man, for the dismal. I'm out of here, boss. I'm going to get my tea, rest. It's all good. Letter to John, King of the Indians, Pope Alexander III. This text is often regarded as a reply to the Prester John letter. So this is a reply to the Prester John letter, but that is emphatically not the case. Despite this, so is it or is it not, man? It presents a curious anomaly that a pope could write a letter to Prester John chastising his arrogance. It is dated to September 27, probably the year 1177. If the Pope's messenger, Master Philip, did really go off in search of Prester John, then no further details are currently known of the expedition, so he just got lost. A more detailed discussion of this problematic text can be found above on pages 13 through 17. The Pope's talking about the Prester. They say it's this, they say it's that, but that's just their conjecture. Just know that the Pope is talking about the Prester, replying directly to the Prester. He ain't replying to nobody. He's replying to somebody. And yeah, man, this Prester John letter goes, deep into the kingdom of the Prester John. We might pick it up right up here next time. Let him know how beautiful it is. Carbuncles, stones, topazes, palaces. The most beautiful thing the mind could ever conceive, right? All kinds of fragrant herbs are discovered there. We're in the Prester John letter. On this night there will spring forth above the stone such a great and excellent tree of such a size and quality as has never been seen since the beginning of the world. We're talking about fountains, right? Starving person tasted this fountain 3 times daily for 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 hours. On the 3rd hour, he tasted it so that he tasted it 3 times, neither before that hour or after it, but in the space which is between the beginning and the end of each one of those 3 hours. Accordingly, he would not die before 300 years. We're talking about the water. Belly flop right into the fountain of youth. So you got at least 300 years if you got this water. They're looking for Prester for 500 years. Is it play, man? Also, there will spring forth in that palace a certain fountain, most tasty and fragrant above all other things, which will never depart from this palace. Never, but will flow through the palace from one corner where it arises to another corner on the opposite side, and there the earth will receive it, and beneath the earth it will be turned back to its source in the same way that the sun is turned back beneath the earth from the west to the east. Indeed, it will taste in the mouth of those tasting it like whatever they desire to eat or drink. The same way the sun is turned back beneath the earth. Oh, so the sun is moving around us. We're not moving around the sun. Flat drop on them. Yeah, the Prester got 70. With 7 kings, 762 dukes, 365 count servers at our tables. I mean, amethyst, amber, jasper, leopard skin. You know what it is. Just, dig on the kingdom of Temple of Solomon, in the scriptures and come back here and just see the similarities, you know what I'm saying? The amethyst palaces, incorruptible gold. Just pages on pages about the magnificence of the kingdom and the castles and the majesty of the one shepherd forever. The spot that we had our dragons, we play with our dragons like they were like they were dogs. We were one with the Amazon queens. These Amazons are most skilled in war, the best at using the bow. This is showing how the Presters and the Amazon queens, man, raise their children up to 7 years of age. Afterwards, they hand them over to their fathers. Truly, when the girls are born, the women keep them with themselves. And these Amazons are most skilled in war. Why not? Now you're tying in the Amazon queen. I'm just saying it's a beautiful investigation. And it's one that has kept us encouraged, man, and has weaved and tied all of the earth history, man, into one crochet, man. Where we have lions and we have dragons. By whose blood the fire is indeed kindled and extinguished. Of course, we burn up our enemies with such fire, if any ever appear to us. We're talking dragon fire. Truly, when the stone is taken in and freed from the dragon's sinews and concealed pockets, the beasts go back wherever they wish. The third stone is consecrated in such a way that if it is sprinkled with the hot blood of a lion, such a fire comes out of it that it would thoroughly consume with ease, as it were candled with water and stones, earth, and other things. We're talking about super weapons, man. We're talking about the 5 stones. Kind of sound like the Shintamani stone. Kind of sounds like Thanos. Kind of sounds like the Avengers. Yeah, man. Kind of sounds like the marvels of our land, right? And you, Managa, you are the marvel. We're talking about the river of stones, the Sambanyan, right? Are the 10 tribes of the Jews. We're talking Hebrews. We're talking Israel. We're talking ancient Israel, who, although they contrive kings for themselves, they are in fact our servants and tributaries to our excellency. Didn't Genghis Khan put a put a put a crown on his own head, man? This is the land of the precious stones and the Sambanyan mystical rivers. This is the land that has the tribes of Israel in exile, protected for such a long time before we were hijacked. Hey, this is where they got the dragons For in fact, the princes of the Indians are accustomed to having dragons at weddings. Dragons at weddings. Dragons in the land of Prester John at the weddings and at other banquets of theirs. And without dragons, they do not consider the banquet to be complete. And just as cattle and mule herders are accustomed to humble and humanize horses young, to teach them and tame them, to call them by their own names, to place bridle and saddle on them, and to ride them wherever and anywhere they wish, so too these men who have custody and command of the dragons, the dragon commanders, humble the same dragons by their incantations and magic. Prester John is a magician. Swords of the East, right? Humanize them, teach them, subdue them, call them by their own names, place bridle and saddle on them, and ride them whenever and wherever they wish. Every year, these dragon people release to our magnificence. These dragon people release to our magnificence for tribute 100 men, dragon masters, my noggin. And 100 dragons humanized in this way, which are like cows amongst these men. And when the men play with them admirably by leading them here and there, by the head and tail, the dragons are like dogs. But we ain't talking these dog heads. We're saying that they were playful and being able to be trained as easy as dogs. Truly, these men with their dragons are our couriers when it pleases our clemency. Desiring to know all the news from every part, we send them with these dragons flying through the air, through every climate of the world, boss. How did everyone get the Prester John letter in 1165 in all climates? Dragon couriers, dragon masters. They flew these dragons flying in the air, whose dragons fly through the air, through every climate of the world. Because these men with their dragons are our couriers. We're talking these Indians are accustomed to having dragons at their weddings, man. These Indians, boss. Oh who is Prester John? I mean, it's only a matter of time, man, before we snap it back, man. And we begin to see clearly that we can easily dodge the hijack, man. We can easily dodge the hijack. Knowing who you are, knowing who we are, with the code, the law that we keep. No longer is the Bible some mythology. It's real story happening right here in India Superior. The same spot where X is marking the spot. The same spot that they come to hijack with their dog-headedness. My naga, wakey, wakey. It is the year of the dragon. And these dragons, these infinite thousands of dragons are waking up. These infinite, I say infinite thousands of dragons are waking up. There is no measure to your numbers, man. Also, there's towards the south in that region a certain place of ours at which the world ends. This is what they found in America, where the world ends today in the Far East, which is called the Cavern of Dragons. We're just talking Antarctica, boss, horizontal, Terra Fuego. It is long and wide, excessively difficult, and most severe in severity and difficult with the deepness and depth that is most deep and most cavernly and full of secret places. America, Mount Roraima. Indeed, in this place, there are infinite thousands of terrible dragons. Sounds like How to Train Your Dragon. When they found infinite thousands of dragons right there in the mountain, right? Which the residents of those surrounding provinces guard with the greatest diligence, lest any wizards from India or elsewhere are able to steal one of those dragons. There are an infinite number of dragons waking up in the year of the dragon. It's time, man. It's time to take our house back. It's time to move back in our castles again. Our movable and immovable goods, it's time to get all that back. It's time to get all this back. In TANGUT, where X marks the spot. It's a beautiful time to be alive, man. You came here to thrive. You came here to keep the cold. You came here to usher in the end of this captivity into this freedom, powerful renewal, where a con could be a con again, man. 7 years apart is not an accident, my nigga. 7 years, 7 days, we rest. You've been toiling. It's time for you to rest. It's time for you to have land. It's time for you to have a birthright, to wake up to your land, to wake up to your treasures, because that's how HaWah intended for it to be. You better know who the op is. You better know who the adversary is. My nigga. You better know who rolled up on the Prester, who's plotting against the Prester. Who's Prester John? You better know who's plotting against the Prester, man. Because straight up like this and straight up like that, Prester John played a great role. From the 12th century until well after the discovery of India's superior America, he was an established part of the European pattern of thought as a potential but not a real Christian ally. In the rear of the Muslim foe, he figured in plans for the later Crusades and thus had a place in European ideas of world strategy by entering the calculations of both Henry the Navigator and Columbus, the dog-head, Habsburg jaw, St. Christopher. He inspired the great geographical discoveries or the invasion doomed diverses, kingdoms and principalities. Still later, amid conditions that had ceased to be medieval, he was a factor in the hopes and plans of Emperor Charles V. All this is too well known to require elaboration. But if the Prester's importance may be taken for granted, questions do arise regarding his origin. Who's Prester John? King David? The Dalai Lama? Roger here, Roger? Melchizedek? Is Prester John the function? And is the function you, Code Keeper? Are we the collective Mashiach, the messengers? Let Nagas know time is up for captivity. Time is up for perpetual slavery. Your return is now, my Naga. Your rising is now, my naga. Your frequency is on Kum, my naga. Admitting that he was, in the largest sense, a legend, a magician, a magi, a prester, a priest, one shepherd forever. It is still in order to ask whether he was, in some degree, also a historical personage. ThaWaDa, my cons, for surfing a wave 9 above the barrier in the 132nd installment of the Prester John Priest King investigation. Ain't nowhere else I'd rather be than to surf the wave of Drop Nation, man. Realizing that our swarthy past is the true connection, is the true forever. Your swarthiness can't save you. The frequency you keep will save you. Because the whole world looks swarthy, just like you. And Prester John puts us right in the middle of the more and more war. So that when we look at the Tecumseh, the Hebrew, we see where it's coming from, and we see where all the hate is about. Why Tecumseh was unsuccessful in tribing up these tribes is that they had been, these other tribes had been hijacked city. From this Genghis Khan time to this Columbus time, all the way up to 1812. But the dragon has returned, the comet has returned, and we have returned. Halal HaWah, Shalom to the cause. Stay up, suit up, choose up.